Hello everybody.
Howdy.
Welcome to Millennial Homesteader.
So this is another episode of Farm to Heart.
And today we are talking about how can you actually afford your homestead and whether you should keep your job.
Spoiler alert. You should keep your job. All right.
You should keep the job, yeah.
So we're just assuming, of course, that you don't have unlimited amounts of money lying around somewhere, and you probably won't get that much of an inheritance in this case, right? So that means that you unfortunately then have to consider the money, conversations. We have to have these conversations. As much as they might not be that entertaining and interesting sometimes, they're really, really important when it comes to homesteading.
Exactly. Yeah. So essentially we are assuming you are starting from scratch like us. You bought your land, or you are thinking of buying the land and you're wondering what's going to happen, how am I going to afford this? And the first thing that we always advise people, and I think we were like smart enough to say, you know what, we're just going to keep our jobs until we know what's going on. So keeping your job is the number one thing that you definitely need to do. Yes.
So a very big challenge here is that when we speak with a lot of homesteaders, and they mostly, when they started homesteading, they move on to the piece of land, and then they usually keep their work. What happens though is that their mind is never really there at the work at times, and this will be very challenging for you. So what will happen is that you'll be at work, but in your mind you'll be going, man, I really want to go and see my my plants, or my chickens and all of the things. I want to see my homestead, and I want to be there and experience it, right? So this then, right, can be a bit of a challenge, but we're telling you that the best thing to do is probably to keep your job. You really are going to need money. And what happened is that we moved in here, we had a certain budget, and our budget is basically times 3, times 4. We can almost guarantee you that the budget you have in your mind right now is not appropriate for what your homestead actually wants. Once you move in, you're really going to really start to understand, how much does it cost to really fence off a place, close off an area, get it secure and all that. And then also remember, there are always constantly emergencies on a homestead. So that money is going to be very much needed.
Yeah, and a lot of the times, a lot of the things are actually emergencies, because if it rains and a tree falls onto your fence, that is now an emergency, and it needs to be fixed quickly. So if you don't have a job and you're just waiting for, I don't know, miracles, or now you're going to take away money that you saved for other things to fix that, then that becomes a problem. So definitely keep your job until such a time you really understand what's really going on your homestead, how much money you need on a monthly basis, and so forth. And what level of comfort are you willing to live in within your homestead? Because that's also going to determine how your monthly budget is going to look like.
Yes. Okay, so that leads us to point 2, equipping yourself with skills. What we also get all the time is people saying, well, the job that I have right now, it's not really compatible with the homestead lifestyle I want to live. So maybe they're situated in the city, and it's a physical location where they have to be every day, and then they want to go onto a homestead which is outside of the city. So now what happens with their job? They can't necessarily take it, so they might have to quit this job. And this is where we say you really need to start working on equipping yourself with certain skills that will allow you to work online or digitally. And this is very important.
Absolutely. So start, now that you're thinking about this kind of lifestyle, start thinking about how do I use the skills that I have to so that I'm able to work online. Also, I'm able to work on a contractual basis where maybe you can actually go into the city, then come back, or you can work with clients or whatever. Like, you really need to try and remove that whole like going to the office kind of setup. Like for me, for example, I have to travel. If I were to do it every single day, I'd have to travel 2 hours to work and 2 hours back. So now I have to leave at work and then come back home on a weekend. And if, let's say 3 years ago, I had actually started doing like certain things, like maybe courses, a marketing course, consulting or whatever else that would have allowed me to work online, then it would have been more beneficial. But it's careers, right?
I mean, unfortunately, you don't always know what the future holds. But then fortunately now, we can tell you that this is something you might want to look at. So we call it, they usually call it STEM, but it's science, technology, engineering, mathematics. I'm fortunate enough to work in a remote setting, but what I've noticed is that those industries, they have a a higher likelihood of working online. All right. And the other benefit as well is that, when you are in those industries, you possibly as well could take advantage of, getting companies in other time zones as well. So let's say, you're in South Africa and then you work for an American company, right? They are 7 hours behind. So that means that, if you're working for that company, you could wake up in the morning, you could do all the chores inside of your homestead, right? And then once the day starts, for the American company, you would actually, hop on and then start working. So you can get work done on your homestead, and then you could also have a job right there. So this is really important, but you need to start looking right now into those skills and then start learning, before you actually make that jump.
Absolutely. So start getting yourself skills that are going to be useful. And a lot of you guys, a lot of young people out there are thinking about this now for a 3-year or 5-year goal. So you have plenty of time, because a lot of these qualifications, whether you want to go the diploma, degree, or whatever, you can achieve it within 2-3 years. So definitely go for it and don't limit yourself. Learn as many skills as possible so that you're able to make as much income, on your homestead as possible from, something more stable. It's unfortunate. In South Africa, you definitely do need more of a stable income, unlike other places. So it is what it is. But then the next thing that we get asked about a lot, so why are you working? Why don't you just make money on the homestead?
Yes, there's always that maverick, that believer that, look, I'm not going to wait 3 years. I really want to do homesteading today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quit my job. I don't care. I'll just go into the homestead, and then it's not a problem, because I'll be able to sell and do stuff and make money off of the homestead. And we can basically tell you that that's probably not going to be a good idea.
Yes. I mean, we have had lots of people tell us that they only started making money on their homestead 5-6 years later after establishing the homestead. And a lot of the times we actually don't realize the amount of work that you end up having to do before you can start establishing the business. And also when we moved here, like right now, that's still our that's exactly how we still feel. We wanted to get a homestead so we can have, sustainability means we are able to also make an income from our home. So that was a big factor for us. But then we are realizing that it's not going to.
So I mean, we've had so many plans, right? Like we wanted to chickens. We wanted to then do vegetables and then all kinds. But the thing is that all of those intricacies, like you have to really understand what you're getting yourself into and so on. So the thing is that your homestead will not make you money immediately unless you are moving with a business somewhere and then you're bringing it onto your homestead, or we're assuming, or maybe you buy the homestead and it already has a business, right? But even then you would need a time to transition and understand your customers and all that stuff. But the thing is, you need to get it out of your head that you're going to move in onto a homestead, and then like month 1 or 2, you're going to be cash flowing, and then everything will be okay.
Absolutely. I think the other thing is, the reason why you won't be able to make money immediately is you get into this place if you didn't grow up in the area, so you need to understand the market. What are you really selling? So for us, we're thinking about chickens initially. Then we realized there is someone in the area that is selling off layers for way less, and the people around here are willing to buy that. They don't care about the broilers. They're okay with off layers, and that's not a problem. Meat is meat, right?
Exactly.
And then we went the farming route.
And I mean, we grew some tomatoes, right? They were beautiful cherry tomatoes, really lovely, organic,
we sold,
right? We sold a few, but when we contacted someone, they said, well, we'll take 1,000 kgs a week, right? At like a very, very small amount. And first of all, we can't produce enough, right? To meet that 1,000 kg demand. But even if we were producing enough, we would have to sell an obscene amount to really make a lot of money, because the unit price that they're going to offer is really low. So the truth that you really need to know about this is that people really don't care about the organic stuff, right? Of course, they're going to say we do care, right? If you appear in the market, everyone says, we do care. But the thing is, you put a bag of carrots here, you put a bag of carrots here, this one is 5 rands, or, I don't know how many in dollars that is. It's like, what, a few cents? I don't know. So like you put a bag here and it's like 5 rands, and then the other one is like 14. People mostly care about the
cheaper
price.
one. Yeah.
They're going to care about the cheaper one, right?
Yeah.
So that's really what it is. Like, people say they support organic, but what we start to notice is that when you finally put it down and you offer and you sell it, what they're going to look at that price, and they're going to say, well, that's a bit expensive because I'm used to buying this at this price.
Yeah.
And therefore that's going to be a bit of a challenge for you. You're going to have to work much harder to get rid of your products. And remember, they have a time limit. Yours are organic. Now, because they're organic, they're going to go off very quickly because they are the real, they're the real produce, right?
Yes.
And also, where you're going to store these things, how are you going to move these things? So this becomes really, really pretty much, things you have to really consider.
You have to really think about. And also just try to understand your market. We looked around, we called around a few 5-star lodges and hotels, and they wanted dark meat, rabbit meat, quail, and all the other stuff. So we thought, oh my goodness, we should have just started with this and probably would have been able to, to have an income already on the homestead. But think about it. Think about the market. Think about how you're going to sell these things. Who are you going to sell to? Are you going to sell online? Are you going to go to a market? If you're going to be selling vegetables at a market, you are going to sell, let's say, a punnet of tomatoes for 10 rands, right? And then the price to be participating in the market is like 150 rands a day. So how many punnets are you really going to sell for you to make back the money and at least a little bit of a profit on top of that? So think about those things. The homestead is not going to give you a lot of money. Selling vegetables is not going to give you a lot of money. The stuff that you see on the American YouTube channels of market gardening do not necessarily work in our context. It's unfortunate. They may work. We're not saying they don't work completely, because we're going to have someone tell us, oh, they will work. They will work in other areas. But in most cases, we are still living we're close to a bigger city. So that it doesn't work. If you are living like in a small
community where maybe the supply could be limited, then you could really try to attract, like you could target a small market and you try to produce that. But where we are, people can get vegetables, fruits, eggs at any given point, right? So if you're trying to go in that direction, you're pretty much going to struggle because you're competing against these very big producers.
So market gardening is not really, it's not big if you're going to live in a close to a bigger city, or if you want to sell to people that are living in a big city. So I think for us, if someone were to ask, like, as we said, we would ask, you lean into your job, but more so, entrepreneurial kinds of work that you might want to consider, consulting, and other more niche things. Like if you want to go into bees or something specifically specialized, you might want to look into that. But these things also are, they're long-term kind of investments. So again, you won't be making money immediately. Right? I think another thing that we actually left out, you was talking about it earlier off camera, where you learn the skills like plumbing, being is electrical work, all these
fitting stuff, installing things. These are really important skills.
Exactly. Not only are they going to save you money on the homestead, but also you could actually do that work for other people and then get paid for it. So learn different types of skills that could be beneficial. You don't have to go get a whole degree. I think you can learn other skills that you can use for entrepreneurial endeavors.
Exactly.
And then the next thing, this is very touchy because we made a video about this and people didn't watch this video. I think it is the
worst performing video we have.
Budgeting.
It's about budgeting. No one wants to hear about budgeting because budgeting is boring. Most people say, well, I'm not very good at numbers and all that stuff. But the thing is, it is so important to have a budget when you're on the homestead. If you don't want the homestead to be a horrible experience and something you really, really hate to be on 24/7, you have to have a budget.
So a detailed budget is everything. And a lot of people are going to say, well, I have an account and at the end of the month, I sort of look at my bank statement to see what has happened. Do not do that.
Don't do that. Do not
You
do
need
that.
to know exactly what you're allocating where. If you want a water pump, put down that money for the water pump. Put down the money for the garden equipment that you want. Put down money for certain things. Don't just go off a whim or don't do that.
Yeah.
You definitely need a good budget.
Yeah. So basically, how do we budget, right? Because we have a way that we started to budget. Because we had a very tough January and February, right? That period was extremely painful. We were really considering of just packing up and just getting the hell out of here. But then what happened was we sat back and then we decided to start thinking of a budget or a way of how to manage the monies around, because it just felt like the homestead was taking so much money out of out of us on a daily basis, right, at that time.
Yeah, because it was definitely going into, we're not like overspenders, but then we started realizing that most of our money was just going to the farm, farm activities, homesteading activities. I know they are hours, but then it just felt like we didn't have room to do other things that we wanted. So what we decided was we were going to have a separate account for the homestead. By doing that, we knew exactly what we wanted to put into that account. So that's going to be different for your homestead. So if you can afford on your homestead 10,000 rands to maintain and manage your homestead, or whether just you realize that that's the only amount of money you can put down, and sometimes it's not even enough, but just knowing that I've put 5,000 rands or 10,000 rands for the homestead, you can really feel at peace.
What's 10,000 rands? Is it like $500 in the US? Yeah, $500. Yeah, I mean, it makes it sound very small, right? But then, the thing is that
small.
like, it
do you wanna like check how much is it? That's your phone. What are you multiplying it with?
Well, I converted 20, but then I think it's probably 19 or so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Dollars to ZAR.
Yeah.
Okay. Jeez. Yeah, 540.
Yeah.
No. Yeah,
you added a zero.
Yeah, I added a zero. Okay, so $545.16.
Yes. So that could be your monthly budget.
It feels so small.
But it's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, 5,000 rands is a lot of money.
I mean, $10,000 is a lot of money.
Yeah, $10,000 is a lot of money. Yeah, but that's $500. No ways. Yeah. So if that is what you want to budget with for your farm, then just put that into a separate account. Use that card or that account to purchase everything that you need for your homestead. And once that money runs out, you are done.
That's it. The projects completely stop, and that's what we do. So we start using, like we set the budget, and then we use that, that budget. And once it gets to zero, no more projects, right? Yeah. So if we start doing a paving, and the paving, the money runs out halfway through, no paving until the next time, right? And I know, it sounds frustrating because you do want to see your projects finished, and also, like you just want to feel progress. But the thing is that there is nothing that is going to completely, detach you from the homestead than feeling like the homestead is taking so much money, like all of it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So the other thing that I think just worth mentioning here, when we did our pavement, our paved area, and we'll do that in another video and really show you and give you like a detailed budget of what went in. But then initially we thought we were going to use about 10 pallets. I don't know, 10 is just a nice rounded number. And then by the end of that project, we had bought 17 pallets of half bricks to finish our pavement, and we that month we ended up not doing anything else because all the money ended up just going to the bricks. Most of the money, and all the bigger projects had to be put aside. So you don't realize how much you actually need. So if you end up, say you are doing the same project as ours, you end up having to take money from other things, which will make it feel very painful. So a detailed budget is definitely something you need to consider. But one thing that is so important is being on the same page.
Yes. So, whichever partner you have, like I have Audrey in my life. So what we do is that we sit down and then we talk about the monies, right? This is very important. It's not about just setting the budget, right? It is also just about understanding what are the priorities and then agreeing on the priorities.
And it being having the same vision.
Yeah, exactly. Because what will happen is that, you might think that this month the pavement is a priority, but your partner might think that getting a water pump is actually the real priority. And now if you both do not agree on this, it's going to be a very, very big problem. Now you will, you're pulling separately, right? Again, your partner, or, assuming of course you are in this with your partner. If you're alone, you can do whatever you want, right? That's not a problem. But if you do have a partner, it is quite important, and to stress that your partner is always the most important asset that you have on your homestead, because you need that support, you have someone to brainstorm with, someone to support you, to guide you, to work well together. So you need to be aligned and you need to work well together, and this is where the alignment is going to be very important.
Yes, exactly. And if your partner thinks that making the homestead look beautiful is more important, and you are thinking you need certain things functional, then you already have a problem while getting into the homesteading. I think also this goes back to the type of homesteading that you want, and communicate with your partner, what type of homestead do we want, so that from the get-go you guys are on the same page of what you really want to achieve. Because if you want a homestead where you are starting from scratch, priorities are going to be your shelter, your water, and electricity. It's not going to be the garden sometimes, because it's like, why do we need the garden? We just need a compost toilet. Please don't do the compost toilets. There's nothing wrong with the compost toilet. Why are you laughing?
No, they're perfectly fine. They're perfectly fine. Look, other people want to reuse their doo-doo and stuff.
Okay, so off to the last point.
Yes. Okay, so the last point is very important. It's another boring topic once more, right? But here's the thing. It's about tackling debt.
Yeah.
Okay, so we cannot stress this enough, and we say this all the time through everything. Remember, we are trying to go on this journey, financial freedom and independence, and there's nothing that shackles us more than having debts. One of the reasons why you can't necessarily quit your job and hop, go around country hopping or jumping around, countries or provinces or whatever, is because you might have a car payment or a home payment and all these other debts that you really have to service.
It's not the kids.
Yeah, it's really not your kids, and don't blame your kids for that, okay? But it's really your debt. Like, the debt really does shackle us. So the first thing that we tell people, especially if they're trying to consider homesteading, the next 2 or 3 years, is really start tackling your debt today, right? Make sure that by the time you say you're ready to look for a place and then find something and then move in, you have as much as you have the least amount of debt as possible. Basically, if we could, and we wish it upon you, is to have zero debt when you go there.
Absolutely, have zero debt. There is nothing worse than realizing that you need so many other things on the homestead, and then the car breaks down. So now you have a car payment,
then now you have to possibly pull out money or get another loan because you have to fix that car.
So imagine if you did not have the car payment.
Great.
It will be great. So tackle debt. You don't need clothing accounts. You don't need to buy anything on credit. Honestly, you do not need to. Just try to use cash when you're purchasing most of it. When I say cash, I mean using the debit card. Whatever you want to use. But avoid debt as much as possible. There is no nice debt. I think I've heard people say, oh no, but it's going to reduce. It's going to be 26 days. It doesn't matter. Debt is debt. Just don't have it. Maybe the only debt you want to have when you get onto your homestead is maybe your home, or if you have a property still in the city, then maybe that's the only debt. But things like your car, clothes, I can't even believe I'm saying this, clothes, no. Just don't do it. Don't do it. So tackle debt as much as possible. Make those payments as quickly as possible. It adds up. The interest percent adds up, and you start to realize you could have used that money to start your goal. And you know what? If you don't have debt, you can pack your things and you can go anywhere.
You could go anywhere. You could basically, even when it comes to your homestead, right? You could set it up nicely. You won't feel the pressure of having to get 2 or 3 jobs or whatever, or like do certain types of work. You can absolutely downscale, in your job as well. Like you could just get a normal regular job to say, well, I can just, just for additional food and some lights and whatever, like you don't necessarily have to go all out, right? And you could work contractual work. You can feel more free and more independent, so just, like this is definitely our biggest advice when it comes to how to navigate the finances.
I definitely tell everyone that comes into the Instagram account and say, how can I start with this? I just say, first of all, eliminate debt.
Yes.
Start a debt-free journey, then you will enjoy this process a little better.
Yep. So that's it, right?
Yes.
Thank you so much for watching. We hope you like, share, and subscribe. If you think there are any tips down here that we missed, because we know, very experienced, and intelligent homesteaders watch this, and you might have your own tips down below. Please put any of those. We can make a separate video to address some of them, and give a lot of advice to people who are watching us. We want to encourage people to join the homesteading journey, but we want them to make the right decisions and the right choices, so that they don't leave the whole journey and then blame it on homesteading as a whole.
And also, we are speaking from our experiences, and these are for people that are in similar situations as us. So it's not necessarily for a lot of people that are homesteading in South Africa are retirees. So we want people our age, people in our situation, millennials, with younger families, everyone that has always dreamt of doing something like this, living a slow life, to definitely do it. So we want everyone to be able to participate. Hopefully,
that would really be nice. So we'll see you again next time.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.